Hello guys, welcome back to Car Obsession and welcome to another point of view drive. As you can hopefully see in front of me, I have the brand new facelifted Cupra Formentor. As you can see, or hopefully see, the light is fading, so let's jump in the car and go for a spin. Now, with my point of view videos, it's quite hard to please the audience. Some of you want me to talk and tell you about the car, others want me to keep stum. So yeah, it's very difficult to find the right balance. To begin with, I will tell you a little bit about the car. So under the bonnet, I have a 2-litre turbocharged petrol. It is, of course, the EA888, also used in the Golf R and the Audi S3. It produces 333 horsepower, along with 420 Newton meters of torque. That power is made to all four wheels via the Cupra 4-drive system and a 7-speed DSG. 0 to 62, 4.8 seconds, which is 0.1 seconds faster compared to the old Formentor, and the top speed, as you would predict, is limited to 155 miles per hour. Right, I need to focus on what I'm doing here. Other engines are available, but yes, let's focus on the EA888. You do have a choice of driving modes, so if I just tap that button there, you do also have the selector on the steering wheel, which you can hopefully just see there. So you have comfort, performance, Cupra, individual, off-road, and you now have a drift mode. That is thanks to, oh, is that my music playing? That is thanks to the new torque splitter, which is also used in the Audi RS3, Audi S3 and Volkswagen Golf R. Anyway, you didn't come here to see comfort, so I'm going to go straight into Cupra. Oh, can you hear the engine tone change? Oh, one of my other GoPros. In Cupra mode, the DSG goes into Sport Plus, and as you're going to hopefully hear, compared to the performance mode, it will hang on to the revs and the gears a little bit longer. So if I pop it into performance mode, hopefully you can see the ambient lighting changes with each driving mode. If I go into Cupra, it's knocked it down into third gear, whereas in performance mode I was in fourth. So yes, the Cupra mode will hang on to the revs and really get the most out of every gear before changing up a cog. And I'll tell you another feature I like about the Cupra mode. I've got nothing behind me, so I can slow down. Just watch the ambient lighting, the LED. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Can you see how it intensifies with your throttle inputs? I really like that. That really appeals to my inner child. Fantastic. Other driving modes, I mentioned you've got individual, so you can make this more bespoke to your own driving position, driving setup I should say. Oh, that's quite nice, it's a purpley light. I haven't really mucked about with the individual setting whilst I've had this vehicle. This is on loan to me from Cupra UK for the week, but yeah, go into here. Touchscreen is a bit fiddly to move whilst you're driving, particularly on a bumpy road. So you can change the DCC, the dynamic chassis control. You can change the steering, the engine, the exterior engine sound, adaptive cruise control, air conditioning, and the torque splitter. So let me touch upon the torque splitter. You do also have an off-road mode, which I would argue isn't really needed in a car like this, and you've got the drift mode, which you need to, yes, use on a closed road. Now that brings me quite nicely back to the torque splitter. So it's able to distribute power across the rear axle. Because it's very intelligent, it can, where possible and where appropriate, send 100% of the power to just one of the rear wheels, and that's why you have the drift mode, because this car is able to give you controlled drifting. But obviously I'm not going to use that on the public road. Now the other advantage of the torque splitter is that, just turn the wipers up a bit, is that when you're going through a left-hand bend, it will send more power to the right rear wheel to help push you around the corner and to eliminate understeer, and vice versa. When you're going around a right-hand bend, it will send more power to the left rear wheel to again help you around that corner. So it is a very clever bit of kit. Let's pop it in performance mode for a bit, so you get to experience all the different drive modes. But yeah, I'm not really going to touch the off-road mode. I'm not going to fiddle about with the individual mode too much whilst I'm driving, because I want to focus on what I'm doing. The Formentor is also available with a detuned version of this engine, which offers 265 horsepower, which I believe is the same as the current Golf GTI, if I'm not mistaken. You can also have a 1.5 litre turbocharged petrol, which is available with either a mild hybrid or a plug-in hybrid. The plug-in hybrid can offer up to 62 miles of EV only driving, so if you're looking for your Formentor to be a bit more environmentally conscious, shall we say, then that will be the one to go for. Although from what I've read, that's not as good to drive, particularly in the corners. This version is fantastic. You've got the dynamic chassis control, so the adaptive dampers. In comfort mode, you can almost forget about the firepower you have under the bonnet, because whilst the suspension is still on the firm side, it's composed, it's controlled, and the damping is very, very good. It's very agreeable. Compliant, that's the word I was looking for a few moments ago. Yes, the ride is very compliant, and you could easily drive this every day if you ask me. No concerns there. Even when you knock it into Performance or Cupra, yes, the ride does become more jiggly, but it's not enough to make your fillings come out, and it's still relatively, I don't want to stress the word relatively, compliant. Yeah, this car offers brilliant handling. Around the 19-inch alloys, you've got Bridgestone Turanzas. They wouldn't be my first choice of tyre, but they are earning their keep in this car. It's quite cold today, it's 4.5 degrees, the rain is starting to fall, so not really ideal conditions for a performance car. If I were running on Pirelli P0s, for example, yeah, I would be a little bit concerned at this point, because they're not, in my experience, that great in cold, wet conditions. I love the snarl this car has. Anyway, for some of you, that's probably too much talking, so I will shut up for a bit. Some of you may have picked up that there is a fair amount of road noise coming into the cabin, so this isn't the most refined. Although having said that, using my sound meter at 70 miles per hour, I got a decibel reading of 71.1, which isn't actually that bad. It was less than I was expecting. I thought it was going to be louder. despite that, yeah, this is a bit noisy when you go up to speed, but this is a performance car, so I suppose you kind of have to make that compromise. In regard to prices, the Formentor starts from £34,150, but that will get you the V1 trim level with the 1.5 litre turbocharged petrol. The car I'm sat in right now is the VZ1 and has the 2 litre turbocharged petrol, and that has a starting price of 46,385, if I'm not mistaken. But this has got the optional graphene graphene grey paintwork, and that will set you back almost £1,000. So yeah, it's quite expensive paint. Okay, are you ready for the power? Right, wait for it, and no! Oh my word! The throttle response is brilliant. Now, just to nerd out for a few moments, this updated Formentor has got more power compared to the last one. This has 333 horsepower, whereas the old car had 310. You also get 20 more newton meters of torque. This has 420. The old car had 400. So the engine has a different tune to it. Changes have been made to the throttle body and also to the turbo as well. So the turbo is now able to continue spinning at a constant speed even when you lift off the throttle, meaning that when you get back on the throttle, it's more poised and ready to give you that power, so essentially defeating any lag. Would you notice a massive difference driving both cars back to back? I wouldn't have thought so. The 0 to 62, there's only 0.1 of a second in it. And even the old car is, yeah, very potent. Yeah, the rain is really coming down now. But it's not enough to dampen my spirits because, yeah, this car is absolutely cracking. Now, it's not without its faults. For starters, the rear visibility isn't fantastic. Hopefully you can see that the rear window is quite shallow. It's not a massive hindrance, but there have been 1 or 2 times where I have found rear visibility a little bit limited. The touchscreen, as much as you do get a larger unit, this is 12.9 inches, it's still fiddly to use on the move. It's lovely to look at, but I just wish it was a bit more intuitive and user-friendly, because yeah, on the move it's it's a bit of a faff. Other things to complain about, well, not even complain, just negative points. Not a big fan of the front end of this car, but that's subjective. I prefer the look of the pre-facelift front end. I think it looks better. I'm sure there was something else I wasn't keen on, but it's not popping to mind, so it clearly isn't that much of an issue. Oh, I love that sound. Yes, I know it's imposed sound, it's pumped into the cabin via the stereo. Some purists won't like it, but I do. It just adds to the experience, just makes the car feel more special. Not that it really needs it to feel more special, because yeah, driving this car, as I said with the old Formentor, it is an occasion. It does feel special, if you ask me, and that's what you should want from your performance car. me the throttle. Oh! This thing is flipping quick, and it's so capable in the corners as well. Brakes perform well. I love the firm feedback from the brake pedal. It makes it feel meaty. The steering is sharp, direct, well weighted. As I said, the Bridgestone Terrans are doing a pretty commendable job. Not my first choice of tyre, but they do work well with this car, so no complaints there. Yes, okay, if you really want to be pernickety, this is likely to have more body roll compared to, let's say, a Golf R, because this is a higher riding vehicle, but I would have thought it was going to be marginal. And I had Mrs. Car Obsession in the passenger seat yesterday, and she was quite impressed by how flat the car was through the corners, so yeah, it got her seal of approval. And it certainly got mine. Right, okay, guys and gals. Time for me to conclude. As darkness is almost upon us. Got indicated a bit too early. There's no one behind me anyway, so it's all good. Oh, another big pothole. Avoid that. And we finished with, well, I was going to say a view of the South Downs, but it's dark and a bit dreary. You can't really see much of it, although it shows out how bright the headlights are. Pop into park. There we go, guys, my point of view drive with the brand new updated Cupra Formentor. If you have any questions, drop them in the comment section below. Just bear in mind that I've only got this car for a week, so if you're looking for any long-term ownership questions, I won't be able to field those questions, so pardon me, just bear that in mind. Yeah, if you haven't enjoyed this video or found it useful, be sure to like, comment and subscribe. If you are subscribed, don't forget to click the bell icon so you get notified every time I make a video. But until the next time, guys, be sure to keep up the car obsession.